Hi, my name is Jamie Hackett. I'm a junior solution architect for Red Hat, and today I want to give a quick demo of Open Data Hub, which is part two of a series of videos I'm doing. And I want to show just how powerful and flexible the platform is today by creating a pipeline using Kubeflow. Just for those that haven't watched the first video, Open Data Hub is an open source project that provides open source AI tools, and that's from running large and distributed AI workloads on OpenShift. Just a quick note before we begin, this isn't a tutorial on data pipelines or machine learning. It's a demonstration just to showcase how powerful Open Data Hub is and how you can get up and running straight away. I wanted to take a minute just to give you guys a little background. Those who have watched the first video will probably already know this, so you can skip ahead if you want. But my background really is that I was working in data for most of my previous career, and within that organization itself, their entire business model would have revolved around data. And I found that actually getting workloads put into production or getting my machine learning models or my AI workloads into production was quite difficult in the business. And that was due to multiple reasons. It could be something such as, DevOps being busy, having to deploy that, having to, take my Jupyter Hub notebook, for example, and turn it into something that would be production ready. The bottom line is that it was difficult, painful, usually took weeks, if not months, to get done, and didn't really provide a lot of value. And that didn't rank me very high in the business until I started providing value. So I wanted to start off today really by showing how easy it is to deploy Open Data Hub and Kubeflow and OpenShift. And we're going to be doing that with an operator. Now, those who have seen the first video, it is quite similar to that. However, we'll be using a custom um, deployable instance in this case, so it will be slightly different. So do pay attention to that. So when we're talking about capability in data science, we have many different tools we can use. So we can have tools such as Apache Spark, Jupyter Hub, Jupyter Labs, um, Grafana, for example. But deploying those within a VM or on a container-based platform is difficult. It's time consuming for our IT operation guys. And I'm going to show literally in a few minutes how we can get that up and running on Open Data Hub or get that up and running on OpenShift with Open Data Hub. And Open Data Hub has some great tools in it that comes packaged with it. So it has Apache Airflow, Spark, Kafka, Argo, Grafana, Jupyter Hub, and in this case, we're going to be using Kubeflow as well. And that's just a small selection of the tools that can be used with Open Data Hub. And a full list can be viewed on the Open Data Hub website, which is in the description below. So what we're going to cover is actually how we can create a project in OpenShift, and so that we have a space for our OpenShift cluster. And then we're actually going to deploy the Open Data Hub project using the operator. And if those who have seen this video previously or seen the previous video, should I say, should note that it's very similar to the way we did it in the first video. However, we'll be adding a few extra projects or tools that we'll be using in this instance of our Open Data Hub project. And just really pay attention to how quick we can get up and running. I mean, literally in a few minutes, with very little kind of through on a phone, we can actually get this up and running. So I've switched over to our OpenShift cluster, and I'm on our OpenShift admin instance here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a project for my Open Data Hub project. And I'm going to call this ODH. I'm actually going to call it Kubeflow. Um, and we can put in a display name if we want and a description, but in this case, I'm just going to click create. So now that that's done, the next thing we need to do is head over to the operator hub and grab the Open Data Hub operator. And simply the operator hub is where we have all of our various operators that are also maintained by Red Hat and the community that you can use within your OpenShift instance. And in this case, we're going to click install because this is the first time we're running this. And once that's installed, we will have it available to us to actually create a instance of Open Data Hub. So I'm going to let that run now. Okay, that was a minute or two, but now that the Open Data Hub operator is installed, we can head on over to the Open Data Hub and create a KF definition. In this case, we're going to do it via YAML, and I'm just going to paste in a YAML definition that I've created earlier. So now that we've clicked create, what's happening in the background is that the Open Data Hub operator is doing the relevant tasks needed to spin up our Open Data Hub platform within that namespace that we created called Kubeflow. And that'll take a few minutes, but once we come back, you'll see that all the pods have spun up and that we are able to start working. Okay, it's been a few minutes and I've headed back over to our Kubeflow project. And you can see here in the recent events that the pods have spun up and we have, in fact, 27 pods running now with all the various AI tools that we need in order to run with our Open Data Hub project. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually set up our Kubeflow instance. And to do that, we're going to head over to networking, we're going to head over to routes. And in the project here, we're actually going to click Istio system. And this will present the route to our Kubeflow instance. So when we head over to our Kubeflow, we'll set up the Kubeflow namespace. So in this case, we're going to just call it anonymous for simplicity's sake, and that's it up and running on our Open Data Hub um, project. Okay, now that we've set up our Kubeflow instance, what we need to do is actually set up a notebook server. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the menu icon here and click Notebook Servers, and we're going to click New Server. In this case, I'm going to call it Test Video. We're going to use a custom image that I'll paste in here, and that will deploy our Jupyter Lab notebook server. We're going to leave the CPU and RAM the same, and we're going to add in a data volume of 10 gigabytes. And then we're going to click Launch. And what's happening in the background there is that's doing all the work necessary for us to set up our notebook to pipeline environment via Kubeflow. So what this will do is it will actually deploy a Jupyter Lab notebook environment or server that we can then actually write our machine learning environment or our machine learning model in, which in this case we are going to do with simulated data for house prices, creating this a very simple neural network. And then we'll convert that into a data pipeline that can be ran multiple times in production. So while that spins up, I'll come back once it's done. Okay, so after a few minutes, our notebook server has been compiled and ready to go. And if we click the connect icon here, you can see that it will launch a Jupyter Lab instance first where we can actually start writing our machine learning model. So what have we just seen? We've seen really how easy it is to deploy Open Data Hub and OpenShift, and in particular how easy it was for us to deploy a Kubeflow instance so we can actually begin to turn our Jupyter Lab notebooks into pipelines straight away. And that really leads us into the next topic that I want to discuss, which is actually building a data pipeline on Open Data Hub with Kubeflow. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this, deploying a data pipeline in production can be a nightmare for most data scientists. It usually takes weeks or months, and it often involves getting involved with IT and DevOps to progress it. And if you need to make a change to that data pipeline, it can be sometimes difficult to do that. And general, just managing that data pipeline is difficult, time consuming, and not necessarily something that um, data scientists want to do very often. And really, taking a Jupyter Lab notebook, for example, with our machine learning model in it and deploying that directly as a pipeline would be, a long and time consuming process. But that's what I want to show what we can do in Open Data Hub with Kubeflow. So what we're going to cover is how we can make a quick data pipeline via Jupyter Hub and Notebook. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a very quick neural network that uses housing data to predict its price. The validity of this neural network is not in question here, but it's more so a demonstration how we can actually turn that machine learning code or Jupyter Lab notebook into a pipeline. So we're back in our Jupyter Lab instance, and what I've done is I've uploaded our house prediction notebook that I've created earlier on. And essentially what this house prediction notebook is doing is going through um, import data. It is splitting that data up into bits, and then it's building and training a neural network on top of that. But that's not what I'm here to show you. What I'm here to show you is how we can actually turn this notebook into an actual pipeline with the Kubeflow integration. So when we click on this little Kubeflow icon here, we can actually select the pipeline experiment. In this case, it's going to be default. In this case, I want to call the house or the pipeline house prediction data, which is fine. And what we're actually going to do next is also, I believe we might add a data. No, we're not going to add a data volume. What we're going to do is we're going to head down to compile, and we're going to hit compile and upload. And what that will do is that will actually compile our notebook into a Kubeflow data pipeline, and we'll upload it to actual Kubeflow. So we head over back to the Kubeflow central dashboard, and if we head over to pipelines, we can see there that our um, Jupyter Hub notebook has been turned into a Kubeflow pipeline. So you can see there that we're actually importing the data, prepping the data, and training the model itself. And really what we've shown there is, the capability of Open Data Hub. We've taken our Jupyter Hub notebook and we've turned it into a data pipeline that in potential we could then deploy into production. And you've seen how powerful that pairing is with these AI tools on Open Data Hub. Within a few minutes, we deployed these tools, and we're up and running with capability to actually have data pipelines up and running. And really, what we've seen is how powerful Open Data Hub can be with getting it with a data pipeline up and running. And really referring back to the opening that I told, if I had this capability as a data scientist, I think it would have saved me a lot of time. And more so, it would have been just easier to get stuff up and running as quick as possible, especially creating a data pipeline, even if it was in a dev or testing environment. Just to have that up and running readily and testing it would have made a huge difference to productivity. And that's it really for this video. So I hope you've enjoyed it. So what we've covered really is seeing how we can actually deploy Open Data Hub with the Open Data Hub operator and OpenShift, and how easy it is to create a data pipeline from taking a notebook and turn that into a data pipeline um, with Kubeflow from Open Data Hub.